You're training to be a nurse. Here's a story that involves a nurse. I suffer from pretty severe panic attacks, and one of the worst ones I ever got was after I shit a bunch of blood. Apologies, but I did. I shit a bunch of blood, and then I ran to the hospital. It was like 3 blocks from my house. I ran there, and there was a UFC fight in Toronto. That's where I was living at the time, and so the emergency room was full, and so there was a nurse out front acting as a bouncer, and she wasn't letting people in. And I was in a full-blown panic attack, and I was like, I think I've got cancer of the ass, of the heart. You gotta do something to help me. And she's like, you do not have cancer. And I was like, I do. And she went, drop and give me 5 push-ups. And then I did. And then I stood back up, and she went, no one with cancer can do 5 push-ups. Go home, which is not true. But it did get me to go home. And then I went home, and then I shit more blood. Now, luckily, I had at the time just purchased an at the time brand new iPhone. So my third photo ever taken with an iPhone was of a bloody toilet. And then I thought, actually, I better take a video. She may not believe it was of this toilet. So I took a video of me saying, close, it's me, nurse. And then and I went back to the hospital, same situation. And I took a photo of it, you could see it's bad. And then she went, how do I know that's from today? And I thought of that, and then I showed her the video. And then it's weird that you did that, but you should come in. And then, I don't know, you work in a hospital, but you guys may not know this. If you've ever been to an emergency room before, how you want it to go is you want to wait a bit. You don't want to wait a long time, but you want to wait a little bit. What you don't want to have happen is what happened to me, which is I skipped the waiting room. That's the worst. Because now they're basically saying, hey, you're gonna die. And we don't want it to be in front of all these witnesses. So come to the back. And I was taken to the gurney, they told me to strip, and I lay on my belly on a gurney, and then they said, this is a teaching hospital, do you mind if there are some students here for the exam? And I said, I don't mind. And then 27 students, and the doctor was there, and then the doctor said, I have to examine your rectum. And I thought he was going to do it with his eyeball, and he wasn't. He was I was a puppet, and he was the puppeteer. And as he was doing that, he then started looking at my face. I thought there was like something wrong, and I was like, what is it? And he went, are you a comedian? And I said, I am. And then he said, oh, I saw you last Saturday. Not for me. Do you know how weird it is to disappoint someone who's fingering you? And that's not what disappointed them? He then said, do you travel a lot? And I said, yeah, I've been on an airplane 9 times in the last 7 days. And he went, oh, that probably dried out your colon. Yeah, and he put me on extra liquids, and he went, that'll resolve itself. And I went, okay. And then the original nurse burst in the room, right in my face, and went, I told you it's not cancer. And I've always thought of her as an amazing medical professional, that she was waiting outside that door just to prove me wrong.